Your book is called Last Man Standing. It made me laugh from the first sentence when you said you wanted to call it something completely different. What did you think the title should be?
Am I allowed to say it? It's because the publishers said that the booksellers would hesitate to put it on the shelves because of the title. One lucky bastard, which is what I consider I am when I put it in the book. But they wouldn't let me use it in America they use it.
And did you have to pinch yourself, the boy from Stockwell, rubbing shoulders with just the A to Z of Hollywood greats?
Pinching myself doesn't do any good. I can't feel it. I'm so numb with age. Sometimes I actually said, wow, how do I know these people? It's extraordinary. In Hollywood, there are three levels: the A-list, the B-list, and the C-list. The C-list is the also-rans. The B-list are contract players who are not big stars, and the A-list, of course, is the big stars, the Gary Coopers, the Cary Grants. And I went first to Hollywood, and I was in the B-list because I was a contract artist at MGM. And very rarely you'd mix with an A-list or go to an A-list party, but I did go to one which really made me pinch myself, which was Gary Cooper's house.
Simon Templar, The Saint, when you made that, did you know at that moment that's when you'd made it, when you were bumping into Betty Davis, Frank Sinatra, and they said to you it's one of their favourite shows?
It was amazing. I think they were lying. Betty Davis came into the restaurant one day at lunch when I was doing the same, and she came straight for my table. She said, "I'm Betty Davis." I didn't say, "I know." I did that later with Rhonda Fleming. And she sat down and she said, "I've got to tell you that my daughter and I, we watch your movies." The eyes going like, "Oh." We sort of became quite friendly while she was working there. I took her to, with R.J. Wagner, took her to dog races at White City, which she thoroughly enjoyed. Every 15 minutes a race, girl comes around, takes the pet. Nobody bothered her.
And you hung out with the Rat Pack. I mean, just how wild were those days?
Well, I suppose they were wild because it's the glamour of the fact that it's Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis and Dean Martin. Dean Martin, in actual fact, wasn't a big drinker, although he had the wonderful line, "The man who doesn't drink when he gets up in the morning, that's as good as he's going to feel all day." And he was drinking ginger ale.
And you ended up striking an enormous lifelong friendship with Sinatra. You would go round to his virtually every Easter, wouldn't you? He would cook.
Well, with Frank, we were friendly. I think what I learnt from Frank was that you mustn't let the world get at you. You don't believe the critics. Don't read them. Well, that's not true. We all have a little sneak. I had one good review, which is not bad in 80 years, is it? I remember some of my worst ones. You always remember the worst ones. My particular favourite was for Diane. It said that, it was in Time magazine, said that Lana Turner, as Diane de Poitiers, came onto the screen with a clattering of high heels and the fluttering of false eyelashes, followed by a lump of English roast beef. Medium, well done. Little horseradish on the side, that's me.
And Lana Turner, you say, taught you to kiss.
Oh, yes.
And you'd already been married twice.
Well, the problem was that, as I just said before, we're talking about the film Diane, that after my father dies, and I know that I'm about to be king, and on a very romantically moonlit balcony on stage 47 at MGM Studios, I come up behind her and I say, You made me a prince. Now make me a king. And I dived down her throat. Oh, and she, what was wrong, Lana? She said, Roger, you are a wonderful kisser. But when a lady gets 35-ish, she's got to worry about her neck. So could you give me all that passion, but a little less of the pressure? So I'm very passionate, but not too much pressure. I've had no complaints since.
Now, you talk about Jimmy Bond in the book. Take me back to that day that you actually got that call.
So I'd moved a couple of years before to Denham, and in those good old days, telephones had a name in front of them before the number. There were just 4 numbers, remember. The number, and I inherited the number from the house I bought, which was Denham 2007, which was an extraordinary coincidence. So I thought, well, this is very nice. They'd asked me once before to do it, and circumstances happened that I couldn't. So I wasn't terribly surprised, but I was a little surprised at being told then that I had to lose a lot of weight and I should get my hair cut very short, and I kept getting it cut shorter and shorter and working out like mad and dieting. So I was very sylph-like.
And when you look at Bond today, what do you think of Daniel Craig's Bond?
I think he's terrific. Really, without doubt. Best. Looks like a killer. Moves like an Olympic athlete. I think terrific. That franchise is going on for another 50 years.
And will you compare it with yours?
Well, I'm pussycat. I look as I could squeeze or hug them to death with my eyes. He looks like he could kill them with one hand.
Let me ask you some just quick-fire questions. Yeah. Your best film?
Man Who Haunted Himself.
Your worst film?
Ratto della Sabina, Rape of the Sabines.
The part you would most like to have got?
Lawrence of Arabia.
The best other Bond, apart from you?
Daniel Craig and Sean Connery, of course.
Alternative career, if you've had one?
Brain surgeon.
You said you were a big name dropper. Biggest name that you've dropped?
The Queen.
To who?
Anybody who'd listen.
And luck along the way?
Luck. Nothing but luck. So it doesn't matter how much talent you have, whether you look like Marilyn Monroe or Burt Lancaster. If you don't have the luck to be there at the right time, the right part, you can kiss it all goodbye.
Coming back to the book, at 86, it's called Last Man Standing, as we said. Is that what it feels like, with having lost so many of your friends?
It does worry me. Frank had said to me years before, about getting new friends, because he couldn't stand the old ones dying. I'm getting a bit like that. So, yes, you start wondering who's going to turn the light off.
And of course, a lot of actors don't like being reminded of their biggest role, but not you.
Well, there's no downside to playing James Bond. I miss it terribly.
You still miss it even now?
Well, I miss the check. That was the really nice thing.
Sir Roger Moore, thanks very much for talking
to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Why did I yodel? Thank you.